Hey guys, Mike Croft here, and today I dive into whether or not you should be investing in the American stock market. Let's dive in. All right, should you be investing in the American economy? In fact, in the American companies is a question that I had the other day here, and the answer is depends. Depends. I'm not investing in Monster right now, which is an American company, but I would invest in Celsius, which is an American company. So it depends. But I'll tell you this. This question was piggybacked off a post that I had earlier this week, actually. Let me share that post with you guys. I basically posted and said, this is the reason why I'm pulling out 99.9% of my money out of Canadian investments and going into American investments here. And let me show you this chart here. For those that are listening, here's a chart. It's a chart of the TSX, which stands for the Toronto Stock Exchange. Then it has, on the same chart, it has the S&P 500, and then the S&P 500 equal weighted, which is just a different way of looking at the S&P 500, giving all companies equal weight versus the regular S&P 500. You know, your top, I don't know what it is this year, but your top 5 companies, you know, are like 20% of that. Of the weighting. Anyways, not to get into all that today, but look at the TSX, the red line here, well below the S&P 500. I mean, not even like it's a little bit, it's hundreds of percents lower than the S&P 500. So the answer to the question, should you invest in American companies over Canadian companies, over German companies, over Japanese companies, over Australian companies? The overwhelming majority answer is yes, but not all companies. I don't recommend buying, just because it's an American, I don't recommend just buying the American company. It depends on the company that you are going to invest in, is what it comes down to here. But what I do know to be true here is Canada is lagging behind. There's multiple reasons for that. But since about 2013-ish, 2012, the gap has widened quite a bit. And there's a couple of reasons. One, I believe Canada doesn't have a vision. I mean, can anyone tell me what the vision of Canada is? Right? Where America, whether you like Trump or not, yeah, he's controversial. Some of you are going to love him and love what I'm about to say. Some of you are going to hate him and, you know, hate what I'm about to say, but it's true. And I want you to get outside your bias and just understand that this is truth. Trump has a vision for America. What is it? To make America great again. How? He's laid out the plan. Tariffs, bringing jobs back to America, getting American companies fired up and going, right? So there's a plan. And obviously there's a lot more details to that than what I've just laid out. But there's a plan. When I think of Canada, what's the plan? What's the vision? Yeah. I don't know either. Right? Overflood the country with immigrants. And I'm not against immigrants, but like, there is we're the problem I have with Canada right now is we're bringing in more immigrants than we have facilities to facilitate it. Meaning we don't have enough housing, we don't have enough doctors, we don't have enough space in the hospitals, we don't have enough services. For what we're bringing in. A good business always starts to build out before they bring in. And we haven't built out. We're just bringing in, flooding in. Anyways, I'm not going to get into the political side of things there, but I believe there's a couple reasons Canada is fumbling at the 5-yard line. One, there's no vision. Two, you could say, well, yeah, it's a way smaller company. I mean, think about it. At one point, you know, Canada was the size of like California. Canada was the size of New York State, right? So like Canada as a whole, you know, is the size of some states in the U.S. here, but that is slowly shifting here. Number two is, I believe, your environment. I don't mean the weather in your environment. I mean your tax environment. Canada, like, even though we have decent corporate tax rates, like, as a business, I'd rather be incorporated in Canada. It depends on the amount of money you make. But small business corporate taxes are really good. Large business corporate taxes are actually not that good. Better to be in the U.S. But we don't have an environment for growth or innovation. So think of companies like NVIDIA, Apple, Eli Lilly, like all these innovative companies that are innovating in their fields. They're better to be in the U.S. than in Canada. We don't have an environment fostering innovation in that way. Okay, so there's a couple reasons there why I think that, but that's the first one is if you're investing in Canadian companies in the Canadian stock market. So if you're doing mutual funds for your financial advisor, there's a great chance you own a bunch of junk companies in Canada, and probably junk companies around the world, to be honest. Right? If you're investing in the TSX, Toronto Stock Exchange, ETF, that type of thing, there's a great chance you're in junk companies. You want to be in great companies. The second reason why I think you have to really consider separating yourself out of the Canadian market here is, check this out. I posted this a while back here, but it rings true today. Nothing's changed. This is, if you, the white line is the US dollar, the fuchsia line is the Canadian dollar. And since about 2015, there's been a wide gap. Actually, the gap's been widening. Canadian currency value has been going down, while the American currency and value has been going up. Why is that? Now, there could be many reasons we can dive into as to why, but I'm not going to dive into why. I want to share with you why, even though you're becoming wealthier in Canada, you're actually becoming poorer on a world stage. So if you own a house, and many of you do, in the housing market in Canada, you've seen it like explode. It's slowing down now, but from roughly about 20, I don't know, 11-ish, 2012, 2013, the housing market just exploded, right? A $300,000 home is now a $1.2 million home. So Canadians have built a lot of wealth and equity in their homes. Here's the problem. On the world stage, you're actually becoming poorer. So even though you're getting richer in Canada, your dollar value is being devalued on a world stage at a significant pace, that $1 million net worth in Canada is like $500,000 around the world. Right, so you're being devalued because your dollar isn't keeping up with the world. Right, so that's the second reason why I'm really encouraging people to get out of Canadian companies and get into American companies. Now, that's not to say that there aren't Canadian companies that are doing well. There's a handful that I think are decent and giving us great growth. But here's the funny thing: all these companies are actually on the American Stock Exchange. Yeah, they're on the TSX as well. You can buy them there, but they're also on the American Stock Exchange. Which tells me is America is the reason why they're successful. America is the reason why they have value and they're growing and they're making people wealthy. Okay, now think of this. What cell phone do you have? Do you have an iPhone? Do you have a Google, an Android? What do you carry? What do you have? I guarantee you don't have the Canadian version of that, because I don't think there is one. And if there is, no one knows about it. You probably, like me, carry an iPhone or an Android or Google, American companies. What computer do you work on? Are you working on an Apple? Are you working on a Google Chromebook? What are you working on? Dell? Chances are it's an American company. When it comes to buying junk food, and let's talk chips. Do you buy Doritos, Lay's, Sun Chips, which is all kind of under one brand, or do you buy Old Dutch? Now, I like Old Dutch better. I think Old Dutch actually makes better chips, better tasting chips. But the majority of people will buy Doritos, Lay's, like the American companies. When it comes to soft drinks, do you drink Coke, Pepsi, root beer, iced tea, lemonade, or do you drink the obscure Canadian company that I don't even know? Is there even a Canadian company that does soda pop? I don't know, but we all drink probably American companies. When you go out to eat fast food, how often are you hitting up American companies? McDonald's, Burger King. Maybe you're hitting Tim Hortons, but again, investing in the Tim Hortons on the Canadian Stock Exchange is not a good idea. So maybe you got me there, but do you go to Subway? Or Mr. Sub, right? Like America has infiltrated us in a good way. I'm not trying to make that a bad statement. But all I'm saying here is I guarantee you the majority of the things you buy and use are made from American companies, which proves my point. Get into the companies you buy. So if you're buying McDonald's for your kids, go invest in McDonald's stock. If you're buying an iPhone to use or using an iPhone, maybe you don't buy it, maybe whatever from your cell phone carrier, get it. Or if you have an Apple computer, go buy some Apple stock. In fact, check this out. Since 2005, so for the last 20 years, ready for this? Apple, the company, has averaged 29.69%. That's its growth. Now, we've had some years that have been up. We've had years like 2008 and 2020 and 2022 where the stock dropped. But if you just bought Apple and stayed in it for 20 years, you would have averaged 29.69%, which brings me to my next point. You ready for this? If you were able to average 29.69%, okay, and what we'll do here is we'll do 20 years. So I'll do age 1 to 21, which represents 20 years, starting with nothing. And let's just say you put $150 away a month, okay, and you were able to average 29.69%. Ready for this? You'd be a deca millionaire. 20 years to be a deca millionaire. In fact, let's just see what $100 a month looks like here. If you could do $100 a month. $100 a month, you have $1.4 million. Here's the crazy part. Your total contributions over the 20 years is $24,000. Your total growth, okay, this is money you didn't put into the market. This is the growth of the company. This is what investing in great companies can do for you. 1.397, like basically 1.3, almost $1.4 million. That's the difference between a great economy, great company, great country with a vision that allows innovation to come through and compete, and a country that lacks vision, lacks growth, lacks innovation. Okay? So that's why I recommend you put money in, you move as many assets as you can into American companies. Now get the good ones. Don't buy all the bad ones, which again, if you're investing in mutual funds, your financial advisor's probably got you in a couple good companies and a lot of blah companies. If you're using mutual funds in Canada, you probably got a lot of Canadian in there, which is probably why you're not doing great. So I've moved the majority of my assets into an American company. I own like I think two Canadian companies. That's it. The rest of my stuff is in American companies. And listen, for every Apple at 29%, I can list probably 10 to 15 companies that are doing that or better. I've got ETFs that do that and better, right? So it's not just like a one-off, oh, you're lucky with Apple. No, there are dozens upon dozens, if not hundreds of companies that have given great returns like that over 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 years. All right. So yes, should I invest in American companies and American stock market? Absolutely. I recommend you invest in the right ones, not the wrong ones. So get into the good ones, and you will become very wealthy relatively fast. Listen, you'll create freedom in your life. 20 years to become a multimillionaire. That's all it took this person. Now, it can happen faster. For the majority of people, it will never happen. Not because they can't do it, but because they got the wrong mindset. All right, they don't understand how the market works, and they're not invested into great, innovating, category king companies. That's how you win.